Hello everybody and welcome to another Thomas and Friends diorama video. Today I'm going to be showing you how I made this Toby and the Flood diorama featuring a full resin cast river. Now this was my first time working with resin and I definitely struggled with it a little bit, but I think the final result looks really good. I really love the look of this diorama and it might be my favorite one I've made to date along with the Down the Mine one. But with all that said, let me take you back and I will show you how I made this. Alright, now the first part I'm going to make for this diorama is going to be Toby's bridge piece that he floats on, and I think this will make a good starting point as it will help me figure out how wide I need to make the river when I get to that part. So I've got some balsa wood here I'm going to be using, as well as some of these square rods, which I'll use to make the little railings on the top and bottom of the bridge. Alright, now I've got this piece cut out, and I'm just going to cut this into different planks, which I will then glue together to give it the plank look. Alright, I think that should be enough planks, I just need to get them separated. And there you go, now we have a bunch of planks. Now I've cut out this piece that I'm going to glue all the planks to, and this will make the base of the bridge that I can put the track and the railings on top of. Alright, now here's that completed. I think that looks really good. I'm going to use these wooden rods now to make the supports on the bottom as well as the handrails. Alright, now that that's dry, I've cut out these little bits I'm going to use for the handrails, so I just need to glue them in place. Now I've got the handrails attached. I had to do most of it off screen since I was having some trouble with the glue, but they're all on there now and I think they look really good. So the only thing left to do is to attach the supports at the bottom, and then we can move on to the painting. Alright, now that looks really good, I think, and for the paint, it's just going to be some of this brown spray paint that I have. And yeah, that looks really great. It looks exactly like the one from the episode, so now we can move on to making the landscape and the river. Now I'm going to make the base using some of this pink foam that I usually use, and I'm going to be doing a similar thing I did on the Down the Mine diorama, where I stack two bases on top of each other, and this is going to allow me to carve into it to form the river shape. Alright, now you can kind of see what I'm talking about there. I've got the base here and then these walls on the side, so I can just put the bridge here, and then I'll fill this part up with water and I can add some grass and stuff on the side. Now, this kind of foam is water resistant, but there are these gaps on the side, so I'm going to need to fill those first or else the water will leak out. The instructions say that you should use plaster to fill the holes, but I don't have any plaster, so I'm going to try using some hot glue since they're just these little lines here that I need to fill. Alright, now these are looking pretty watertight, so I'm going to glue this piece in here at the back, and then I have this one for the front also. And these are going to sort of act like a dam, and they'll keep all the water in place while I do the pour, and then I can remove them afterwards. So I had to switch the foam to this white foam because the pink foam was not sticking, but you can see we got this whole area filled in now. So I'm going to try filling it up with water to test if it's watertight, and then if it is, we can move on to doing the pour. Alright, now this is definitely watertight. I filled it up with water and I've left it for a little bit and it has not drained out, which is really good. So let me get it drained real quick. And then I'm just going to paint this brown so that when I do the resin, there's a sort of base layer underneath it. And then the last thing I need to do before the pour is glue the bridge in place, and I also made these little rocks I need to attach. Okay, now with all that in place, we can start doing the pour. Alright, now the first step is to warm up the resin in some hot water, which I have right here. So it says to just put the bag in there, and then leave it for 15 minutes to heat up. So I'll be back in 15 minutes to check on that. Alright, now that that's mixed up, I can start mixing these. So there's all the base poured out, and then I need to pour out the activator before I mix them. And now I'm just going to mix them together. Okay, now it says I have to stir this for 10 minutes, so 5, 6, 7, 8, and that should be about 10 minutes. So now all that's left to do is pour it in place. Here is the diorama, and I'm just gonna pour this into here, and it should not leak out and dry to form our water. Here we go. All right, now this already looks really good. I'm super happy with how this is turning out. So I just need to leave this to dry for a little bit, and I will come back and check in 24 hours. All right, now I just got back. It's been 24 hours, and I have some good news and some bad news. So the good news is it hardened. This looks really great. I'm super happy with this. But the bad news is a little bit of it did leak out, and it actually stuck the base to the table. And you can see it's hardened. It's one solid thing now. To look at that from the side, you can see like the entire board is connected here. There's a big puddle in the back that stuck it. So what I'm gonna try and do is separate this from the base, and hopefully I can just peel the resin off the back and we should be all right. Oh, geez, it is really stuck in there. All right, now I managed to get it off. You can see it wasn't a very clean job. I basically had to rip it out of the puddle, and there's still a lot of resin on the mat, which is why I don't have it here right now. But hopefully I'm able to get that off. I can probably just scrape it. For now, I think our next step is to remove these walls here so we can see how that looks. Okay, well this is not good. It's not coming off very easily. All right, now the foam did not come off very well. I was hoping it would be clear on the sides, but unfortunately there's still a bunch of foam there that I can't get off. So we're gonna have to cover that up. But for now, I'm gonna work on doing the water ripples, and I'm going to be using a technique I've seen a bunch of other people do where you put gloss Mod Podge on top of the water and then blow it around with a straw to create the waves. So we'll see how that turns out. Now it may be a little hard to see on camera, but I was able to add the water ripples, and I think they look really nice. You'll also notice I added this wood on the side, and this is actually the same wood that I used to make the bridge. And I think it does a nice job covering up the ugly side of the resin. Now, I've made this mixture of these different ground colors to try and replicate the look of the ground from the episode, and I think this is pretty accurate, so I'm going to use it to cover the area besides the river. Now this looks good, but I still think it's lacking some detail here on the sides, so I'm going to add some more foam rocks here, as well as some other details, which will hopefully help make this area look more interesting and also more accurate. Now that is looking way better. I love the addition of these stone walls. They really help the area feel more like a mountain, which is good. Now there's one last detail I'd like to add, and that is the Beware of Waterfall sign. So I printed that out, and I'll just glue it to a piece of wood to replicate the one seen in the episode. And here's that. I glued it to one of the little posts I used to make the bridge, so all that's left to do now is glue it in place. So there we go. There is our completed Toby and the Flood diorama. And I think this just looks fantastic. I think it captures the scene really well and overall just looks really good. I had a bit of trouble with the resin leaking out, but I think it turned out looking really good despite that. And for my first time using resin, I'm very happy with how this looks. If you have any Thomas and Friends diorama ideas you would like to see me do next, leave a comment. I'm always happy to hear from you. But with that all said, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!